Hey guys, welcome back. It is Yay Day, and everybody be celebrating. Thank you for joining me again, my friends. It is the 19th of October, 2016. It is midday New Zealand time, New Zealand Daylight Savings time. It's been awesome. Sun's not going down until like 8 o'clock at night. Everyone's like in a better mood. It's really positive in this neck of the woods, and I think everyone's starting to get excited for the UFC fight night in Melbourne, which is next month. I will be covering that one live, so I'm pretty excited for that one too. Flights are all booked, we're all sorted, and so hopefully Jacare and Rockhold doesn't fail to impress. There's some other good fights in that card too, like Chris Carmozzi and whatnot. But we'll get into that when we get a bit closer to the date. I guess the big news, well, I mean, it's not the big news, but the big thing to focus on so at the moment is still UFC 205. We've got to get to 205 first before we get to Fight Night Melbourne. So there's plenty of that to go on with. So today we've got an awesome show. We've always got an awesome show, but before we get stuck into it, just as always, MMYay.com, that's our home. That's where all our articles are posted. That's where all the podcast is going to be. I'm sorting out podcast hosting, so you can download this to your iPod, so that should be pretty soon, which is very exciting. But until then, MMYay.com, that's definitely where you want to be going. You can get at me on Twitter at Dave MMYay, Facebook.com/MMYay online. Get me in the comments on YouTube for this one. You can get me wherever, really, wherever floats your boat. Let me know, though, if I'm doing something that annoys you. If you hate watching me drink coffee or fucking around or watching the fucking milk get stuck in me mustache, let me know, because I'd love to hear from you. DM me or on Twitter if you want. That's cool. Someone did that the other day. I appreciated that. Awesome, guys. All right, we have a sick show coming up, as I said. All right, today on the podcast, check out the new graphic. If you're watching us on YouTube, there is a new graphic. I pointed the wrong way. Right there. There is a new graphic. That is sick. That's a new graphic too. We're just graphic now. That's sick. If you're listening on the podcast, I guess you should watch us live. Watch us on YouTube, because I have sick graphics now. Makes me really excited. Makes me feel like I used those like 2 hours the other night designing them so that you guys could see it. I think it's pretty sick. Okay, cool. Today on the podcast, we've got the GSP return. I don't know how this is going to work. I'm not going to... If you're listening, I'm trying to point. I'm not clever enough to do that. That's fine. Today on the podcast, we've got GSP's return. I want to go and have a look at what's going on in the UFC. If you follow Mr. Ariel Helwani on Twitter, you'll see that he's just broken the news. The UFC has sacked pretty much half of its Asia office. This is on top of the UFC is fucking really weird at the moment, and I know they've just had that. They've just been bought out. They've got new owners. We're trying to kind of work through this process, but yeah, we'll go through that. We'll go through what happened with UFC Manila. I know BJ Penn fell out, but now Ricardo Lamas is. I think he's fighting on that on the next card the UFC has, which is UFC Ultimate Fighter Latin. So that's interesting. What else? So we'll go through that, and I think I could talk about that for fucking hours. I won't, but I could, because that's how much fucking shit's going on there. All right. Obviously, other big news apart from GSP's return and whether or not he's a free agent is Ronda Rousey is going to return. That's actually booked in now, so there's no more speculation on that. That's December 30, which is December 31st my time. Would have been cool if it was December 30 my time, because December 30th is my birthday. So send me happy birthday the day before. What is it? Is that UFC 207? I want to say 207. I should have done my homework on that. Okay, that's cool. And then we'll have a look at UFC 205. I feel like every podcast we look at UFC 205, but that's it's UFC 205. It is by far the best card the UFC have ever put together. Touch fucking wood. I'm banging wood. I don't want to bang it too hard and bang my microphone over, but I'm trying to bang. I want it to be good. I'll bang my head. Fuck, and that's what you do. Holy shit. I mean, we'll go through it again. I've gone through it last week and the week after, and I just bang on about it all the time. And I think anybody who sees me is just sick of talking to me because it's all I talk about. But it is a sick card. Like, let's be honest. UFC 200 was meant to be the card that, you know, launched the UFC into the mainstream. And yeah, I guess Brock Lesnar tested positive and beat Mark Hunt up. And Anderson Silva fought Daniel Cormier on 3 days' notice. But UFC 205 is where it's at. The one thing with UFC 205, and this is what I'll get into, I suppose, when we get to it, is I'm still not a big fan of the McGregor-Alvarez fight. I'm a big fan because I think that Alvarez can beat McGregor. And hopefully that'll sort out all these weight issues. If he can't beat Alvarez, then obviously he's going to go back and defend featherweight, maybe? If not, well, at least he'll have to drop the title, I think. Because once he loses to Alvarez, all this hype's gone. And it's pretty obvious that he can only beat people in his weight division. Yeah, but we'll go into that today too. So everything in order. You're with me for the next hour or so. So thank you for tuning in. If you're on your lunch break, if you are in New Zealand, might be morning tea if you're in Australia, or like you've probably finished work if you're anywhere else in the world. Because let's face it, we're in the future. Alright, so as I said, the big news was GSP. Is he returning? Is he not returning? He was on the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani, which basically is where you get any news for the week, really. Let's be honest about that one. And basically, and he came out and he was saying that he's a free agent, which is apparently that's news to the UFC. That's news to me. It's news to everyone, because pretty sure the UFC would have had him locked in like one of those Scientology like 100 billion year contracts. But he doesn't think he is. But I love GSP. He always offers such excitement, such interest. You know, for in MMA you can kind of. It's not often you get guys that are great at fighting with great personalities, and that's why Conor McGregor is so exciting. So when someone like that comes along, but GSP, he does it the other way. Like he's not a super exciting person to talk to. Like his personality is not there. He's got his French accent and he kind of roast and I am GSP. This is but what is exciting is the motherfucker thinks he's been visited by aliens. He gets beaten in a fight. Well, he didn't get beaten. He actually won that fight, but everyone thought he lost. And all of a sudden, he's retiring, and then that's it. There was no talk of retirement. No one thought he was going to retire. And then Johnny Hendricks beats him, but he doesn't get awarded the win. And GSP walks away from the spot. And he says he just needs some time. He's not retiring, he needs some time. Well, he's had some time, I suppose. He's had, 2-3 years. In fact, GSP, he retired shortly before I moved to New Zealand. And that was nearly 3 years ago. So he's definitely been retired for 3 years. That's a good chunk of time. I suppose he's got his head back where he wants to get it. So it's only fair that we see GSP come back. And I mean, I'm pretty keen to see him come back. I think anyone who says they're not keen to see him come back a bit of a dick, really. I mean, yes, Johnny Hendricks beat him, but he was weird in that fight. Like, it wasn't... And also, Johnny Hendricks was... This is pre-USADA as well, and I don't like to slag anyone. I don't like to throw around allegations, and Hendricks has never really tested positive, but he's had some weight issues again now. He wasn't having weight issues then, was looking fucking really fit. And, I mean, his wrestling was... It was a great way to beat GSP. If anyone's going to beat GSP, it was going to be Hendricks. He was able to wrestle fuck GSP. I'm recalling this fight off my head now. I haven't watched that for... I should have probably watched it before this and done some homework. I think the moral of all these podcasts is I need to do more homework. But that's okay. But from what I remember, Hendricks was able to dominate most of the grappling. And it was also... Hendricks used to seem to have a lot more power in that left. We haven't seen that for ages now. I think it's really sad. I think Hendricks is done. I'm not even sure if he's got another fight now after, because that was two like really quick defeats on the trot. And usually in that case, I think the UFC pretty much. He's definitely got a rest. So I don't know who he's gonna fight. I guess maybe Hendricks can go through a couple of like outside of the 15 rankings fights we don't really give a fuck, but you know they're there, and we get to see Hendricks come back, and maybe he gets some confidence again, because I think that loss to Wonderboy really kind of rocked him. He went from potentially being still a title contender and the ex welterweight champion to nothing. Anyone who saw that fight, he looked terrible. And he's gone from being a bloke that could, that we thought, Robbie Lawley just kind of got him. Why doesn't he get another shot? Because they had those two fights, and it's 1-1. So we were really looking forward to, I guess, was that third fight. The same fight that we're eventually going to see with McGregor and Diaz, and I say eventually, and I think it's probably next year, because the UFC just wants to make cash now. We'll go to that shortly. As I said, I want to go into what the fuck's going on with the UFC, and I'll probably talk more good shit about Bellator. I think Bellator have an event this weekend. I probably should have looked that up too. Excuse me. We can look that up together. But anywho, so GSP's gone and said that he's a free agent now, which is very exciting news for basically any promoter in the MMA world. I'm sure there's some Canadian promotions that I'd love to put him on. Whether they have the money to put him on, that's a good question. You know who does have the money to put him on? Bellator. Bellator have them Viacom dollars. Those dollar bills, throw them. Just throw them. Throw them all over GSP. Because if you have GSP fighting on your card, this is not having Hoist Gracie come back fighting Ken Shamrock. This is not Dada 5000 versus fucking Kimbo Slice. This is a real competitor. Fucking GSP versus Rory McDonald. Fucking A. Make it happen. That's what we want to see. So, if he is indeed a free agent, excuse me, I've just knocked my microphone. If he is a free agent, then that's definitely the move to make. I mean, if Scott, even now he's said it, and now the UFC has said he's not. If Scott Coker hasn't fucking started sending some messages out, I mean, I'm sure he's got GSP's number in it, or at least his manager. But if he hasn't started to do something in this direction, then fucking this isn't the Scott Coker that we've seen and love. I mean, we love Scott Coker when he does this kind of shit. Rory McDonald wasn't happy, swiped him up straight away. Chael's solid. Straight away, he's off his suspension. Don't fuck around with the UFC. Fucking get Chael in. Now we got Chael versus Tito. Fucking A. Like, shit's happening. Shit is happening. This is awesome. So, if GSP is indeed a free agent, this is some of the best news I think Scott Coker's ever had. Definitely since he's been booking for this organisation. So GSP thinks that he's a free agent, but the UFC says he's not. Now, GSP's whole reason for being a free agent is not actually contractual. As I said, he's probably locked into a Scientology-style contract, 10 billion years, because he's the poster boy for Canadian MMA. And not just Canadian MMA, I mean, everybody loves GSP. Some people not like his style, but I think you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone who's not genuinely excited to see him come back. I mean, people love to hate. Haters gonna hate. I always hate on Conor. But then when I try and give him some respect, like I did, I said after he beat Aldo, I went, he is a legitimate MMA contender. Because I have so much respect for Jose Aldo, and I think he just got in Aldo's head and really kind of fucked him up there. But I went, okay, this guy can do it. You know, yes, he took fights on late notice too, when these fights fell apart, like the fight with Chad Mendes, where Chad Mendes dominated him for the first round, and his BJJ's come a lot further, his wrestling's come a lot further. So that's not what I'm arguing about at the moment. But I was a hater, and I come around, and then I'm kind of over it again, because if you're the champion and you've never actually defended your title, then what's the point? We've been doing this for, I mean, this is a year. It's a year since he's fought at featherweight. If he can't make featherweight, which I don't think he can make featherweight, and he doesn't want to make featherweight. Who wants to make featherweight? I'm 5'6". When I'm hitting the gym and I'm lean, featherweight is even a little, like, I wouldn't be feeling very happy. And Conor McGregor is a lot bigger than I am. I can definitely get down to 145. I walk around to 160. But there's a big difference. He's got about 3 inches on me, and he's got some muscle. I've just got a bit of a gut. So, you know, this is it. I don't know if he wants to make it. And why would he make it? He's got all the money. So he's got these fights. Just fight in lightweight. So that's what he's doing. But drop the title. Anyhow. Enough McGregor stuff. I love how he works his way into everything. Maybe I've just got him on the brain. Maybe I am secretly a Conor nut-hugger. I don't think I am. I don't really like him. I watch all. I will watch his fights, but I say I watch him to watch him lose, but he's good to watch. Anyway, we are not talking about Conor. We are talking about GSP. So we'll get back into that. So anyway, GSP is saying that he's a free agent because of inactivity. The UFC have said no. GSP's lawyers have sent a letter, and in this letter, they've said you need to organise a fight for GSP in this 12-day period, or I think it was 12 or 10 days or whatever. I think it was 10 days, and then the article I read described it as 12th hour, but whatever. You've got 2 weeks essentially. Book a fight. He wants a fight. Give him a fucking fight. To which the UFC go, maybe you could fight Robbie Lawler, but he just pulled out of that fight against Donald Cerrone at the biggest card in the history of the UFC. So, Robbie Lawler's probably not fighting anytime soon. And I say this because I think anyone who fights on UFC 205 is gonna make bank. So you'd have to be really not well, and he's got concussions and he's injured and all this kind of stuff, and he's had some massive wars. So I get why he needs to have a rest and he's not there. And going in to fight against Donald Cerrone is definitely not the best thing to do if you are feeling like your clock's been rung a little bit. So, good move. But if he's not fighting on that card, I think he's taking some time off. I don't know. I'm just looking from my side and what I can read. But I think he's out for a little bit. So maybe GSP won't be fighting him. Anyway, so if GSP's not fighting Robbie Lawler because he can't fight Robbie Lawler because Robbie Lawler doesn't want to fight, then you got to find him another fucking fight. Seriously! I'm sure everyone wants to fucking fight GSP. We keep talking about money fights. We keep going, oh, McGregor and Alvarez, these are all money fights. We just want money, money, money. Let's fight Floyd fucking Mayweather. GSP draws. I don't know, like, GSP was the first $1 million man. Like, the million pay-per-view, whatever. He gets these in. He's been the hero of fucking all these good cards. Every time he fights, everyone tunes in. There's fucking cutouts of him. Before Conor McGregor even fought in an MMA fight, there's fucking cutouts. McGregor's probably walking past the GSP cutouts on his way to the gym when he was still like working out how to throw a kick. Like, this is the money fight. So why do we? I'm sure everyone's throwing it up. The question is, and this is why this is me, and this is just me having conspiracy theories. I have nothing to back this up at all, but Reebok. How much money do you reckon GSP makes in sponsorship? I'm gonna say GSP makes a fuckload in sponsorship, and I'm gonna say, getting your name on those shorts and on the banner behind him is probably not cheap. Especially if he's fighting in Canada. So, I think this is a money issue. And now Joe Silva's gone. I don't know if he's gone yet. Is he gone yet? Does he go at the end of the year? I think he gave him a month. I think that month's up. I mean, I guess most of his booking, we're dealing with his booking for a little bit longer. But these new owners haven't dealt with GSP, and he's fucking running from aliens and shit. He reckons they come, they visit him. Like, he's got some hardcore handlers and shit. Because I always, whenever I think of GSP, I always think back on his appearance on the Joe Rogan podcast. And it was only like an hour and a half, but it was like an hour and a half ago. You know, Joe comes in first off, we're talking about MMA, like we're all on the same level. We all know what's going on. And then Joe's just like, oh, what do you think? And GSP's like, there's definitely aliens. I got abducted by aliens. They come in, and I saw them. And then all of a sudden, his hand is like, nope, no, we can't have this. You know, Mr. GSP, you'll go home. Okay. End of podcast. But yeah. Reebok. It's money. It's got to be money. Which is why Bellator is the absolute prime. They're in the prime position to pick him up because they have money and he can wear their sponsorship too. So if he can get his sponsorship dollars whilst fighting, Bellator don't have to pay him as much. Whereas now he's going, okay, I got X for my last fight. I got X for that fight against Johnny Hendricks. But I got Y in that fight as far as sponsorship. So I now need you to put X and Y and then put a little bit of a sweetener on there because I saw that Conor McGregor got 7 million and Nate Diaz got 5 million, and surely I'm a bigger draw than at least Nate Diaz. I don't know. But I would have thought GSP is a bigger draw than Nate Diaz. Maybe not Nick. GSP and Nick would be sick. That'd be a big draw. So I think that's what it is, and it's not going to be cheap. And these new owners, that's what I was saying before I lost my train of thought. These new owners haven't dealt with GSP before, and I wonder. Again, this is all speculation. It's all in my head, but this is why you tune in, hey. This is my point of difference. You can listen to if you want to listen to all of the UFC fighters, and I'm super jealous of that. You can listen to Ariel Helwani, right? He's breaking it all down with them all the time. He's got like fucking 8 UFC fighters on there every Monday. I've just got me. But I offer my theories. Only going to get him here. Maybe they're a bit silly. Maybe they're a bit crazy. And hopefully he get a few laughs as well. But I think it's money. I don't think they know how to deal with him. And I think he's crazy nuts to deal with. I think he's going to want a lot of money. I think he's going to want a lot of stipulations. And I'm not surprised that this all comes up now that we've got Madison Square Garden card. Because for years it was always like once MMA finally becomes legal in New York again, it's gonna be GSP he's gonna be the headliner, because GSP is the headliner. He is our headliner. He will be the first in the next wave of Hall of Famers to come in. Everybody knows who GSP is, but maybe not so much just right now. But he's just got to come back. That's the thing. I mean, the MMA world's changed since GSP left too. When GSP left, Conor McGregor wasn't a very big name. Ronda Rousey wasn't a very big name. I think she was starting to climb her ascent. I'd have to check those dates. But since he's gone, we've seen two big stars. We've seen Conor McGregor and we've seen Ronda Rousey. And I'm going to cover Ronda Rousey coming back later on, but I'm going to continue with this just for the minute. These two names have come up since he left, and that's a big thing. The money that they're demanding, the money that they can earn is huge, and now it's changed the game, and it's exposed UFC, MMA, but mainly UFC, to a much bigger audience. Interestingly, and I can't comment for the rest of the world, but I can comment for Melbourne in Australia and Auckland in New Zealand, and pubs or bars or drinking establishments, restaurants, those kinds of things. Not exclusively, just anything like that. Anywhere where you go to meet mates after work, to have some drinks, maybe some food, maybe a boogie. A lot more of these places are showing the UFC now. They don't show Bellator. They definitely don't show 1FC. They definitely don't show... what's the one on NBC? It was on the other way. Anyway, they don't show any of those. They don't actually probably know they exist. And I had a really interesting conversation with a bloke who owns a chain of bars, and one of those bars is like his sports bar. And it was just after UFC 200, and we were just kind of going, what's going on? And you had UFC 201, and I don't think he even knew 201 was happening. He was advertising 202, because what was on 202? McGregor versus Diaz. To him, that was the money fight. And I mean, that's not a bad thing. I'm sure he showed 201. I'm sure no one turned up because it wasn't promoted. No one knew it was on. And probably most of the people that go there to watch the fights don't really know any other fighters anyway. So that's cool. Market 202. You got to make your money. So but that's interesting. But a lot of these venues that would never show it are showing it again. 3 years ago, before I moved to Auckland, I worked in a pub in Melbourne. We showed a few UFC events, and I thought it was the best thing ever. I got paid. I had to pour some beers, but basically I got paid to watch the UFC and talk about the UFC with like-minded people. And we only got maybe like 20 people turn up, so it was really cool. And the guys that turned up were super dedicated. It was awesome. I think the biggest one we had was Anderson Silva versus Charles Sonnen, which is like UFC 150 something, I think. That was really cool. And then they scrapped it because no one came, no one was interested. Last time I walked past that pub, they show every event now. There's huge signs. But that's just one example. That's everywhere. Anyway, the MMA universe is changing. And it's for the good. The more money, the more eyeballs, all that shit, it is all extremely good for mixed martial arts. All the gyms that are popping up, there's lots of weird gyms. Everyone teaches MMA now, and a lot of those gyms, it's some kind of like weird boxer size Taibo with takedowns. But that's cool. It's still cool. It's still all good. I guess is what I'm saying. So we've just got to roll with it. But the MMA world has changed. Here's GSP coming back, and maybe, and it's probably not a maybe. It's probably quite a few of these people have no idea who GSP is. So maybe he's not worth quite as much. But you put him on as the main event in a big event. Everyone's gonna know who he is after he comes back. It's kind of like what's the movie? Get him to the Greek, right? Where they want to do it's the one with Russell Brand and what's his name, the fat guy, and they're trying to find more money. They need a fresh idea, and the fresh idea is to bring back an old rock star because they're gonna stream this concert, and it's gonna boost sales of the back catalogue, and they're gonna do remastered shit and all this kind of stuff. Do it with GSP. Do it. You put GSP on the card. People who know who GSP already are like, oh yeah, sick. I'm pumped. I'm pumped to see GSP come back. How long's it been? Hey Jerry, how long's it been? It's been 3 years. Oh fuck. Has it really been 3 years? Oh shit. Now I'm ready to go and see this fight because GSP is the fucking best. I bet you he's still training, and I bet you he's still a fucking stone cold fucking killer. Then you got the other side. You got like Ronda Rousey's number one fan. She's like, oh, look at me, Ronda. Oh no, that's okay. You got knocked out. Take your break. That's okay. Oh, you're coming back against Nunes. I'm very excited. Put my jersey on. And they're like, who the fuck's this GSP? He's got a dick. What? He fights dudes. That's not what UFC's about. It's all about the girls. No. So they're going to go, who the fuck is GSP? And if they actually care about MMA, which half of them don't. It was really interesting when I went to UFC 193 to see all these, the general public all dolled up in their Ronda Rousey outfit. They were very excited for when Ronda Rousey came out, and then they were very disappointed when Holly Holm knocked her out. But the rest of the fights they didn't really care about, and you had like it was Valerie Letourneau versus Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Joanna Jędrzejczyk won in a very convincing fashion, but it was a good fight. You had like Stefan Struve, and everyone knows who Stefan Struve is because he's so big. I don't know, when I first started watching MMA, back however long away it was, one of the things I remember from watching, before I got into it hardcore, was Stefan Struve, because he's so big. It's awesome watching a dude that big. I mean, and watching him 2 weeks ago, watching him on the UFC 204 card, you can really see what that height difference is, especially when he fights a shorter heavyweight. Especially when he fights a heavyweight that comes in at, say, like 230. They're too big to make that 205. But they're a really bulky fighter. They're a solid fighter, and that's why they can't make the weight. It's not because they're 6'3", 6'4", 6'5". I'm sure the guy Struve was fighting was probably 6 foot odd. He was probably 6 foot tall because you don't really want to be weighing 230 pounds if you're not 6 foot plus. It doesn't matter how big you are. But it was really interesting to see how big he actually is and how physically dominating he is, and like he kind of, and it was who did he? It was Stipe, wasn't it? And Stipe was like, when he kicks from the other side of the fucking octagon. He's like, how did he kick me in the head? So that's cool. How did I get onto this? Oh yeah, no one cared. So I've gone about this in a really long-winded way. I think it's taken me about 28 minutes to get to what I'm trying to say. So I hope you've enjoyed the journey. To me, this is what the YAY Day MMA podcast is all about. I'm looking forward to having some guests on soon, having some mates around. We're going to do a bit of a chat too. That'll become like a companion to what's going on here. But yeah, that's kind of what it is. It's a tangent. I love it because I can kind of follow my thoughts through, and you can kind of join them. And if you hate them or you like them, maybe you like a little bit. Maybe just it gives you a little conversation point that you can take to the pub. And when you're having or bar. When I say pub, I mean bar. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, if you're in the United States or whatever, or you're in Canada, or the UK, they call them pubs. Anyway, give you something to talk about, or maybe you're just listening to this shit while you're sitting at your desk, and hopefully I make it a little bit easier just to get through it. Regardless, I don't really care what you do with them. Just listen and talk to me. If you want to listen to it while taking a shit or something, do that too. I like it. Okay. So GSP is going to want more money. This is the big thing. And I think the MMA world has moved past GSP, but I think they're ready to embrace him again. And I think this is good news for MMA. I think it's bad news for the UFC, and this is where I'm gonna move in to the next segue, and that's gonna be almost seamless. There's a lot of strange shit going on at the UFC since they were purchased by, what are they, WMG, UMA, or whatever? I don't give a fuck what they're called. But we've got these articles coming out about how the celebrity owners of the UFC, and to me, that's not what the UFC is about. The UFC is never really about the owners. The UFC is about the product of the UFC. And to a lesser extent, it's about Dana. And Dana's kind of in like that weird situation where it's kind of like what the WWF did, or WWE now, where Vince McMahon was like the general manager, CEO, whatever it was, is the owner, but he's like the head honcho guy, but he's also a character, and it's kind of like Dana does. I think Dana embraces that too. I don't think he'd admit that he plays a character, but I don't think Dana can be like like that all the time. I don't think he's going through a Macca's drive-thru and ordering a Big Mac the way he deals with media scrums and stuff. He could. That's actually, that would be really interesting. I would actually work in a McDonald's for a week if I knew that Dana White comes through, orders Big Macs, just so I could see how he orders it. Yeah, that'd be really interesting. But anyway, since this UFC purchase, it's just things are going really strange. So in UFC history, we have 2 cards that never made. We've had a lot of injuries cause changes to cards. We've had main events change. But as far as actual events being cancelled, we only had 2. We had UFC 152, whatever one that was. That was it. That was an Anderson Silva card. And we also had 170 odd. Always due to injuries, and now we've got the UFC Manila card as well. Again, BJ Penn's dropped out. He's injured. Maybe BJ Penn shouldn't be coming back anyway. Maybe BJ Penn's too old. Maybe this injury is a blessing in disguise for BJ Penn. Maybe. Regardless, the UFC cancelled the event, which kind of left Ricardo Lamas fucking in the middle of nowhere, and also, it really kind of fucked with Derek Lewis. And I love Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis tells you like it fucking is. He's pissed. And you know what? I'd be fucking pissed too. Where's my money? That's all he's asking. Where is my money? I think we've all done that before. When you're working, and if you work for long enough, and I'm not talking 50 years, I'm talking if you've had a job for like 3 or 4 years. If you're listening to this podcast, you're over the age of like 18, and you've had a job since you're in like fucking high school. Your employer's missed a payment. And maybe they didn't miss it. Maybe it was just late. Maybe it was only like 2 hours late. But if it always goes in at 5 o'clock, and you check at 5 o'clock and your money's not there, you're like, oh, hell no, motherfucker! I ain't fucking working another minute until that money is in my account. And it's really annoying. And you know what? Apart from like, and I'm sure actually, I won't say apart from a small amount, because I'm sure a lot of people have been fucked over by, you know, businesses are closed down or whatever. But usually, or in the nicest situation, you talk to your employer, you're like, yo motherfucker, check my bank account, and there ain't no dollar bills in there. And they go, oh shit, the bank, we had a problem at the bank, there was a hold up, and then my friend was taking the money, and then he got robbed, and now we've got no money, but that's okay, we have more money, and you will get paid soon. You can take the gun away from my dog now, because that's how I take care of shit. Would never shoot a dog. I would never. But I'm not above using a dog to get what I need. Anyway, it's fucking really frustrating. But generally, you know, as long as the place hasn't gone bankrupt or whatever, you're gonna get paid. So it's like a minor inconvenience. And if you're a smart ass like my partner is, she's got everything like sorted out. She likes to send this kind of shit out. Then it fucks with your system, because you're like, this money's going to go here and this money's going to go here and I'm going to pay this bill. This is how I pay the rent. And fuck, if I don't pay the rent, then I don't have anywhere to live. And if I don't have anywhere to live, I don't have anywhere to sleep. Now I can't work. Because you can't work if you can't sleep. Yeah. But so it's annoying, but it's like a really minor annoyance. Okay, enter Derek Lewis. Enter the Black Beast. That motherfucker flew to Manila from the United States. I don't know how far that is, but I reckon it's fucking a good distance. Because I know it's like 8 hours from Melbourne, and it's like 14 hours from Melbourne just to LA. So if you're going from somewhere, he's probably flown like 10 hours. And it's not just him. It's probably his taken. And we go back to this all the time. And like UFC apologists, they'll come and they go, oh no, the fighters are okay. The UFC takes care of flights for one of their cornermen. Which fighter have you seen in the UFC only bring one fucking cornerman? Name one. I haven't seen one for ages. Maybe at like UFC 2. Maybe they didn't even have a corner at UFC. Well, there were no rounds, so you don't really need someone to fucking wipe your face down, do you? You don't need someone to bring the stool in, because once the stool comes in, that's it. You're done. In the modern day MMA in 2016, very soon to be 2017, even on small regional cards, people have 2 or 3 people in their corner. It's just what you do. So for the UFC apologists who go, oh, just, they pay all the fighters, and, you know, and people who are like, oh, I'd just be happy to get paid for a fight at all. That's cool. Keep chasing your dream, but aim to get paid. Because no one should really get kicked in the fucking face for no money. And I get it, you gotta like pay your dues a little bit on the regional scene. You get kicked to the head like 3 or 4 times. That's it. No more. The other thing for the apologists is they always go, oh, well, at least they're getting paid. Is $8,000 really that much? You think about training care. Now, I've never trained for a professional fight, so I am just speculating here. But I've got ready for other things. And like I know that when I'm getting ready for other things, if I don't have to have a job, like a full-time job to live off, I can get prepared a lot better. So I mean, these guys are fighting in the #1 fight promotion in the world. The Ultimate. It starts with a U, so it's Ultimate. That's a good Devaway fighting championship. But they're flipping burgers at fucking Wendy's. Like, this is just... it's no good. So pay the fighters. I guess what I'm saying to these UFC fucking money apologists who go, oh, the fighters are not too bad. And if they were so bad, start a union. Well, maybe they should start a union. I'm all for starting a union. But fucking, have you spoken to these fighters? They don't know the first thing about starting a fucking union. Maybe you should go and help us out. Maybe I should go and help us start a union, because I need some help. But regardless, Derek Lewis, he is in the Philippines. He's in Manila right now. Well, actually, he's probably not now, because it was meant to be like a couple of days ago, and we've known for like a week and a bit that it was. That is just by the point. He was in Manila. Whether he's still there or not, maybe he's having a good time. I think Manila's like the only country in that like Asia area where you don't go to have a good time either, which I think is really disappointing. Because like if he had flown and found out the fight wasn't happening, and then the UFC did the right thing and like at least paid him his show money, or went, okay, we don't pay you your show money because you didn't show. How much did you spend to get here? Probably works out better than the show money. Or maybe not, but like the same. Go, you've paid $4,000 in total for flights to get here, and your hotel. Sorry, fight didn't go on. We'll book you one really soon, and you'll get your show money for that one. But this one we'll just pay for your expenses. And I'm pretty sure that would be enough. But maybe not. I get it. I think Derek Lewis is entitled to his show money. He didn't pull out. The UFC pulled out. The promoter pulled out. I wonder also, because I mean, I know that when you're writing a book or you're making a movie or shit like this, there's insurance for like if the event doesn't go forward. And like, obviously, because the UFC had to refund all the tickets that were purchased. And I heard it wasn't very many. I heard it was like 4,000. Anyway, they have to refund those. So I guess they've lost all that, and then whatever they're planning and their promotion and stuff, they probably lost a bit of money, but they can probably lose a little bit more and pay those guys that flew there, because I think that's ridiculous. But yeah, this is just continuing on. So when did they take over? It was 202, wasn't it? 202 was like the last kind of event with Zuffa, and now we've got the new guys. In 202 events, I think the UFC cancelled 2. In 3 events, these guys have cancelled 1. That's like 1/3. Now, I know I'm probably being a little bit harsh, because if we look back at this in 6 months and they haven't cancelled another event, it's like, oh, well, they only cancel like 17% of events. And then if we go another year, it's like, oh, well, they only cancel 12% of events. When it's really only one event. And like, you can use statistics to make people look like dicks. But you're also probably a dick too if you use statistics to make someone look like a dick. So don't do that either, because that's not very fun. That's not a nice thing. Anyway, it just seems to be characteristic of what's going on with the UFC right now. So, Ariel Helwani breaks the news. The UFC have sacked half of their Asia office staff. Half of them. That's a fucking 1 in 2 chance of you losing your job. You've worked however many years. I don't know how long that UFC Asia office has been. Again, homework, should have done it. But does it really matter? No. Even if there's 10 people in that office, 5 are gone. And there's probably not, because I know they've been working on... The Asia office probably takes care of the entire Oceania. So that's probably all of Asia, or as well as Australia, New Zealand, probably like a good chunk of like that Southern Hemisphere kind of area. So there's probably a truckload of people that work there. You thought I was going to say fuckload, but I didn't. I said truckload. That fucking got you. So they've sacked those. That's crazy. So this is announced. Then, going back to what we were talking about with GSP. GSP seems to think he's a free agent. He's not a free agent. There's no legal thing in there saying that he's a free agent. But he thinks he is. And the best the UFC can really do is it's kind of like, no. Nah, we didn't say so. And just like, yeah. And they're like, no. And it's just like, this is playground shit. The UFC, if GSP, who's one of the biggest drawing athletes the organisation has ever had, comes out and he says, I am a free agent, shouldn't they be fucking scrambling? Fucking, have they not got a siren for that shit? Like, surely they have like 3 sirens. GSP, Connor, Ronda. If any of them are bailing, They're like fucking, and November last year, that fucking everything was going crazy for Ronda. They were like, oh shit. There goes the cash cow. There goes the money train going out the station. And then earlier this year, fucking the Connor one's going off, and then like, oh fuck. When he writes, I've retired. What a dick as well. Oh, I've retired. No, you haven't. But yeah, that's going crazy. Do they not have one for GSP, or did they like unplug it after he retired after the Hendricks fight? They need to sort that out, because you can't. Yeah, you need to be setting up a press conference, and they need to go, oh no, Mr. St. Pierre thinks that he is under a free agent. But to any promoter out there that's trying to just back up a dump truck full of money to up his driveway, maybe don't, because we do actually own him for eternity, and Xenu says that that's cool. We actually just photocopied the same contract from the Sea Org, and we gave that to GSP. So now we own his soul forever until the aliens. Maybe those aliens visited him. That was Xenu. Maybe GSP is actually secretly a Scientologist. There you go. That is a headline. Regardless, so they can't sort that out. I'll put some notes here. I make some notes for every podcast. I think it's good to have notes. I think it's good preparation. I say I don't do homework, and I do some homework. I just don't do a fuckload of homework. And the problem is I keep saying homework, and it's stuff that just comes up as I'm talking. But what I have written here is Reebok still sucks. That's another problem with the UFC. Now, that's not a new owner's problem. That was actually incorporated by the old owners. But Reebok still sucks. Reebok still sucks. So, while they're trying to work out how to get GSP to stop saying he's a free agent when he's not, and when they write a check to Derek Lewis, because no one wants to owe Derek Lewis money because he's a scary motherfucker, maybe they can sort out Reebok too. Because we're in phase 2 of Reebok. And I love shitting on Reebok, so I'm going to do it again. But we're in phase 2 of Reebok. Phase 2 of Reebok makes me fucking laugh. What has changed since phase 1? They got colours. They already had colours. Like, they had like the champion shorts and the not champion shorts and the black one. And half the fighters still just wear the black and white too. Like, this is not a big... If you're like doing phase 2, right? Phase out the black and white ones. Bring in new ones. And then phase 3, you're going to have to change the colours, and then you're going to upset the Brazilians because they can't wear yellow. But like, let's do a fucking real... Phase 2 is like when PlayStation brings out the slim model. And you're like, what the fuck? It's exactly the same thing, just in a smaller look. And then the other question is, if they could fit it into this smaller console, why didn't they just do it originally? Probably because they wanted to save it so they could bring it out and be like, here we go for Christmas. You thought you had the best PlayStation? Now, this will only take up half the space. But because you're going to have the old one too, it's actually just going to take up 1.5 times the space. Because you got another half. And you probably sit it on top. You probably actually use the old one as a stand or something. See, it's very much like that. So yeah, so phase 2. So after we had all these Sheilas like losing their bra straps and all that kind of shit, we bring in colours. I don't think the fighters care about colours. I think they'd be more happy if they just got paid. Like, sponsorship. Like, if Reebok is their major sponsor, I think they'd just be really happy if Reebok paid them. I don't have the figures with me. I usually do, but I don't, because it's just getting to the point of ridiculousness now. But if you go on any like martial arts forum, there'll be someone keeping a tally of what's going on, and it tallies out Reebok today, Reebok since program inception, and like what good fighters have kind of got. So like, Joanna Jacek, she's probably fucking cleaning up on that Reebok deal, because if you're a champion, you get like 40 grand. How many fights has she had since Reebok? Like 4? Again, I don't know how much she could get. Because Joanna Jacek is a good looking girl. She's from Poland. So I'm pretty sure someone in Poland wants to sponsor her. They could probably like give her some sick shorts with like Poland shit on it, like the Poland Water Supply Company. She could just be sponsored by the nation's water supply company, and then like on the front she could have electricity too, so she could just get all the utilities down the right legs. Poland sewerage. Taking away tomorrow's shit today. But yeah, so I'm sure that. But anyway, I'm sure she's cleaned up on the Reebok deal, but many others haven't. I suppose that's what I'm trying to get to here. Many others haven't. So Reebok still sucks. That was like a nice little 5-minute walk away, like a segue into how much Reebok sucks. The Reebok sucks message is brought to you by MMA.com, courtesy of Dave, which is my Twitter is @DaveMMA. Let me know if you think Reebok sucks too, because I think it does, and I think everyone does. I think you're really hard pressed. I think, and even within the UFC brass, I think you're really hard pressed to find someone who thinks that it's like good. Like, I don't think anyone thinks it's good. I think the UFC thought it was pretty good when like the check was being written, and they're like, "Oh shit, this is a payday." And Dana was like, "Oh, I could get another plane," and the Fertitas were like, "Oh, we can buy another casino, or maybe we'll buy like Miami, like a fucking who did it must have been Vegas. It must have been a Vegas University. They bought like a massive stadium with their $4 billion. I hope it was a good stadium. Yeah, so they're probably pretty psyched about that, but I don't think anybody else is psyched about that. And I guess. What are we? We're about an hour deep into this podcast. I think we're going quite well. But I think the general theme seems to be Reebok sucks. Because like when we started talking about GSP, and I was like, "Oh, why would he come back?" And we were thinking there was like a money issue. I'm thinking it's a money issue. And it's probably stemming due to Reebok. So Reebok sucks on that count. And then new UFC owners haven't got rid of Reebok. Guess that's not their fault. They probably like got a contract. Maybe that's another like Scientology $10 billion contract. I don't know, like they signed it with Xenu or some shit. And like Dana, they didn't give a fuck because they're like, "We're selling this in like a year anyway. Let's get this Reebok deal in. Get the cash. Get out. Give it to someone else." Someone else's problem because they know that Reebok sucks too. Alright. Speaking of the UFC speaking of what's going on in the UFC. So we'll bring that back around. So that's that was most of the shit I wanted. It was basically that their office staff are gone. Like they've sacked all their Asia office staff, which is a problem. And I think most people who work in the UFC at the moment are probably a little bit unstable, a bit uneasy. Not unstable. Unstable makes them sound like they're fucking maniacs. Uneasy is a better word. Uneasy about their jobs. And, you know, these guys have been working there for probably a while. Sean Shelby is probably fucking stoked. Because he's probably wanted that head matchmaking job that Joe Silva had for ages. But, Dave Meltzer's he's gone. He's gone up to the 76ers. So we've lost Joe Silva as well. So who have we really... We've got Sean Shelby's like longest serving star. I mean, we got Dana. But Dana's really confusing now. I'm just confused by it. I don't know what he does. Does he do the same shit? Does he have any say? Because when it was Zuffa, I don't think he really had a boss. Like, I think he just did whatever he wanted to do. But now I imagine he has to answer to these people that like shelled out a amazingly huge amount of cash. So I think he like has to answer to them now. That's probably not very fun. I haven't seen him post anything on Twitter either lately, like other than like Fight Week. which he always posts. I don't even think he posts that. I think that's like automatically posted. But yeah, so that sucked. But the last foible, and this has actually been a really negative podcast. I'm sorry. But there's some issues that need to be resolved. And I think the UFC is really struggling at the moment. But I've got to be careful what I say, because I might get suicided. But that's fine. We'll keep going. The other issue is that came out of UFC 204 was the match between Adriano Martins and Leonardo Santos. If you haven't heard about this yet, I'm going to tell you what it is. So that's cool. So now you will know. Basically, Adriano Martins and Leonardo Santos, they opened up the card at UFC 204 in Manchester. When the UFC goes to other countries, I know, so like the UK, I know Australia, New Zealand, a lot of the Asian countries, Canada, I think. I don't know if Canada does. They don't have athletic commissions, especially because like, a lot of the athletic commissions were established for boxing and wrestling and stuff like that. Well, they have like departments to do that. That's part of their job. Whereas in I know in Australia specifically, the sports are governed by independent bodies, and you can't just hire them. So when they go to these kind of markets, they have to bring their own judges and stuff, and they'll fly like their own officials and all that kind of stuff over, which normally is not an issue. But so Adriano Martins and Leonardo Santos, they kicked off the first. So they kicked off the card. They were the first fight. They were on the Fight Pass prelims. It was probably pretty. Interestingly, at UFC 204, for the Fight Pass prelims, there are a fuckload of people there, and I guess that's because it didn't start till 10 o'clock at night. So they've probably been in the pub. You get to the pub at 2 o'clock. Been drinking for like 8 hours. You kind of fucking stumble up the stairs, pull your ticket out. Woo, UFC! I'm here for the UFC, yeah! Anyway, so you get in. So yeah, so there was a surprising amount of people. You know who wasn't there to watch? The third judge. What I haven't been able to work out in my brief homework was I can't remember. Well, I can actually. I can't remember. I did read. I can't remember what the judge's name was, and I can't work out if he was there to judge later fights or if he was meant to be judging the Martin Santos fight. But anywho, after the first round, it became obvious that there was only 2 judges. Now, if you're listening to this, you probably like MMA, so you probably realise you have to have 3 judges. Pretty similar for most combat sports, you have 3 judges. It means that like if 2 don't get on, you got someone to like do a tiebreaker and shit. 3 is the magic number. So Mark Ratner approaches this guy, and I can't work out. If you can work it out, comment me or DM me. Just let me know. Send me an email. I don't know, fucking find my phone number if you can find online somewhere and let me know. Because I would like to know. Mark Ratner approaches this judge and goes, did you see the fight? Did you see the round? And can you adequately score the round? And the judge goes, yes, I can. No worries. I saw it. I know what's going on. And then he goes and sits in the seat. Now, this is a bit airy-fairy. And I wonder if the UFC had something to do with this. I would never suggest that MMA fighting are shills, especially with Ariel Helwani as like their lead reporter. And the problems he has. But what happened there? So obviously Adriano Martins, he wants to get a no contest. It was a super close fight. Super close. A lot of people scored a draw. Went either way. It was very, very close. So if Santos had have knocked Martins out, would we care? Yes, we should fucking care, because there should be fucking judges there. Like, this is UFC 204. You want me to fucking pay $50 to watch, or like fucking £700 if you're in the UK to go to Manchester Arena, and you can't even get 3 judges in the seats. Like they get in for free. I think they get paid. Like, that's sick. If you want to judge, just let me know. If you want to pay me to watch fights and I just write down either a 10 or a 9, just, give me a call. UFC, give me a call. I'll do the Australia. I'll do Rockhold and Jacare, cause I'm down for that. I got a ticket, but I'll get rid of that because I get heaps closer if I'm the judge. I don't understand how I can get to a situation where you go, did you see that round? Do you feel you could adequately score the round? That kind of made me laugh too with Mark Ratner. Does Mark Ratner, he's kind of like Dana White. I would hope that Mark Ratner doesn't always speak like he speaks. Whenever we talk to the VP of Regulatory Affairs, Mark Ratner, and go, he got poked in the eye. What happens? Oh, well, if it happened at this point in the fight, he's so fucking droll. He's so dry. Like, why do they even get him on? Like, by now we know the rules. Is that for new viewers? And is that what you want to expose new viewers to? You want to expose them to Mark Ratner? Because he puts me to sleep. And if I'm really confused, especially if the fight's on the ground, if I'm really confused about it, but if I'm a new viewer, it's my first card. I'm very excited. I'm with some friends, they like it. Maybe I've played UFC on the Xbox a little bit, and I'm like, fuck yeah, no. This is what we're doing today. We are gonna watch UFC 204 because Michael Bisping is the everyman that I can get behind. He can be my hero. Sure, he's the middleweight champion, and it's cheating to have your favourite fighter as an already champion. You got to get behind an underdog. But no, you're like, I like Michael Bisping. I think it's a bit rough that he got fucking jabbed in the eye, and now his eye's all fucking wonky. I like Michael Bisping. Now I'm a bit confused because these guys are fighting on the ground, and I'm like, I don't really know what's going on. And my mates are going, this is grappling. They're using either their wrestling skills or their jiu-jitsu skills. And then, especially if someone's trying to work their way into, say they're in half guard. And you're like, well, why the fuck are you in here? Why is that position better than full guard? Like, if I'm between your legs, I can thump you. If I'm here, I'm at a weird angle. They're probably struggling to watch and bring on Mark Ratner. And he's like, well, and in this situation, I'll just read the rule book really slowly and really boring. Well, it's round 1, so we haven't seen enough of the fight, so it would be no contest. We're in the second round. If only the round could go a little further, we would have enough to judge on. Fuck off, Mark Ratner. Who brings it on? I'm sure one of the commentators, I'm sure Brian Stan knows the rules. Can he not explain? Is it maybe it's in Mark Ratner's contract? Maybe in his contract he's like, oh well, I need to get on the TV once. My kids are at home, and they tell their friends that their dad works for the UFC, and they all go bullshit. And when these kids think of the UFC, they're like, oh, your dad's not Chuck Liddell. And he's like, no, my dad's not like Chuck Liddell. But my dad does score knockouts. He knocks out the rules. That's what he's all about. He is the VP of Vice Regulatory Affairs. And 6-year-olds do not know how to say Vice Regulatory Affairs. But that's okay. So he's like, yeah. So now his kids are probably like, Dad, why have you got such a shit job? Why couldn't you be in the corner? So now he's on TV. Whenever someone gets, it's very fitting for Ratner. Because he only gets on if someone's been poked in the eye, kicked in the dick. Sometimes it's a cat, but mainly poked in the eye, kicked in the dick. Imagine being associated with eye pokes, dick kicks. Hey, why does he put that on his Tinder profile? Swipe right if you like eye pokes and dick kicks. I'll run you through those rules. Being poked in the eye or kicked in the dick? I'm here to help. What round did it happen in? Oh, round 2. Not quite enough. If you can get through to the 3rd round, we can judge it now. Otherwise, it's a no contest. What a fucking boring human being. So let's just take him off the broadcast. I'm sure he does like really good work behind the scenes, like in his real job. Like, I'm sure his real job, where he like deals with fighters and stuff, I'm sure like he's really good at that shit. But keep him off the broadcast, because we don't need him there. He doesn't add anything. But it's really fun if you're with your mates and you're like, dick kick. Someone's been kicked in the dick. Where's right now? And he's always there too. Like, he travels for the vice president of regulatory affairs. He travels a lot. Like, I get when he's like there in Nevada, because like the UFC offices are based out in Vegas. But he's like, I bet he was going to the Philippines. I bet he was going, fuck, I hope someone gets kicked in the dick. But he's like, he's like learning how to say dick kick in Filipino, so he can like fit in there. They're like, oh, who are you? You're like, oh, I'm Mark Ratner. They're like, oh yeah, sick, what do you do? And he's like, oh, he knows how to say dick pic, knows how to say dick pic and also dick kick and eye poke in Filipino. So I just wanted to, while I'm hating on the UFC, and I don't hate the UFC, I love the UFC. I watch the UFC. I'm like all of you guys. I got into MMA through the UFC. I might be an unabashed supporter of Bellator now, and only recently. I'm waiting for them to fail me too. I'm sure they will, and then I'll give them a... Probably next week. Next week brought to you by Reebok and Bellator sucks. Next week, Reebok sponsor Bellator because sucks knows sucks. Alright. What is next? I said what was next, and if you're not just listening to this, and like, fuck it, if you're just listening to this, get yourself in for a treat. If you ever want to watch a bearded white guy in glasses sit down and talk for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, tune in, because you're in for a treat. But also, I have these new graphics. Bang, here it comes. Oh, there it comes. I need to get this reversal window thing down. There it is. Alright, so I've crossed off GSP return. I've crossed off what's going on in the UFC. Rousey to return. Oh, I've nearly got that. Oh, bang, that's like right there. Rousey to return. That is the other big news this week. And it's a strange week now, because without the Philippines cab, we don't really have any UFC for like 3 weeks. And that is very strange. Sorry, just adjusting the camera a little bit there. Yeah, we have no UFC for 3 weeks. So, I guess, and it's probably like the fun part of doing MMA reporting is like all the gossip and shit. Like, I like writing like what happened in the events and like writing a quick summary. But the exciting shit is when you see someone on Twitter and someone calls someone else a cunt, and you're like, here we go. You're like, yes, I have an article I can write. I'm ready to write. I have my pen. Say something else. Say something about their mum. That's exciting. And that's news you can use. Anyway, there's lots of exciting things about reporting on MMA. This is one of them. And I thank you again for joining me. Okay, Rousey's going to return. Alright, so this is big news. So, in case you're new, which I highly doubt, if you're new and you found this podcast, thank you. Stick around, because it's people like you that's going to keep this going. Because I sound really smart if you've never watched the UFC before. Alright, Rousey's going to return. She got head kicked in November. UFC 193, second round. Didn't look very good. Holly Holm looked excellent. She looked fucking on, eh? Like, I wish I was one of those people that backed Holm, because then I would have won a lot of money, because I think it was paying like 12 to 1. You put $50 in there, you are laughing. But I didn't. And I was at the event and I thought, okay, well, there's a good card behind it as well. And we'll get to see Rousey do her thing. If it goes a round, that's cool. If it goes 2 rounds, even better. I've doubled up on what I actually thought I was going to get. Wow. No one fucking thought they'd see that. Holly Holm kicks, like, I know this is a hand, but I'm trying to, like, do a kick. Kicks Holm in the head. I mean, Rousey in the head. And down she goes. That's it. She's cooked. Holm is the new champion. Holm fights Misha Tate. Oh, Misha Tate is the new champion. Oh, damn. Damn, girl. You beat Ronda Rousey, who nobody could beat. In fact, you beat her so well that she disappeared for... It's going to be over a year now. It's going to be 13 months in between fights for her. And then Misha Tate beats you. Now Misha Tate's queen of the universe. And we're all like, fuck yeah, we thought Misha Tate would be able to do this. You know, all of a sudden, everyone had been following Misha Tate's career since Strikeforce. So like, oh yeah, I always knew she could do it, you know, when she got her arm broken by Rousey. Oh, that was shit. If she had got her arm broken, no, she wouldn't have. Rousey fucking died at her. I like Misha Tate, and you know what? I've gone for Misha Tate in every fight against Ronda Rousey. I think I go for everyone against Ronda Rousey because I think it'd be really exciting to see her get beaten. But that's not the point. Misha Tate goes in, gets beaten quite convincingly. Not even quite convincingly, really convincingly. Extremely convincingly. So now we have Nunes, who record is not the best, but she's big, she's scary, and she's gonna fight Rousey. Question: Why doesn't Rousey fight Cyborg? Why doesn't she get that payday? Because if she fights Cyborg, she can probably pick up another 5 million. And let's be honest, 5 million's enough. But I mean, she'll have heaps more than 5 million because she's Ronda Rousey, and she's doing movies and shit like that. So I don't really get it, but I get it for the UFC because ideally Rousey comes back, beats Nunes, and then she'll need to defend the title. No. Since Rousey lost the title, no one's been able to defend the title, and that's a bit of a problem for the UFC. But no, so they've booked this, and it's the New Year's Eve card, and I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of other fights at it, and hopefully they're going to stack it up. One thing I will say, after hating on the UFC, I'll praise them. They've been able to put together some really sick cards lately. Like 205 is the tip of the iceberg, but they've done some good matchmaking, and hopefully Sean Shelby will be able to continue it on now that he's moved up to the higher weight classes. So that'll be cool because there are some awesome fights to be made, and he did a good job with the lower weight class too, and he's shown he can make some good fights. So hopefully he can bring it up. But yeah, so we've got the return of Ronda Rousey, and I probably should have got a photo so I could flash it up, but she's looking fit. Ronda Rousey is funny if you follow her, because obviously everyone wants to be the first to break the scoop that she's coming back. So everyone's always taking photos of her, always following her all the time. But they always take the photos from weird angles. They're kind of, and they're oh, look how fat Ronda Rousey is. Well, of course she's not 135. She's not 135 when she's fighting. She gets to 135 the day before the event, and then she balloons back up. So, of course, she's probably walking around at 160. Maybe 165. And if she's not training, she's probably at 170. But, regardless, she is training. We've seen that she's training, so that's all good. But she's looking swole. She's looking back in fight shape. I suppose, because, December 30 seems like a long way away. But if you think about it, it's 2 months. I think all of these dates are getting together really weirdly because UFC 205 took so long to organise. And through that, because that card took so long to get together, now all these others are coming at it. Because, UFC 205 is the next card. UFC 205 was only finalised just before UFC 204. That's unheard of. And I know there was issues and problems and this or whatever, and like that's fine. We don't need to go into that. But yeah, that's what's going on. So now UFC 206. So there's UFC 206 in between. So that's obviously start of December in that little spot. And we know we've got Cormier, Rumble Johnson. Awesome fight. Really excited to see that fight. Yeah, that fight's gonna be business. Really excited for that. So then and then all of a sudden it's UFC 207. UFC 207 just comes out of nowhere, and now it's Ronda Rousey. No one cared about it. It was the New Year's, because the New Year's Eve cards, they can be good and they can be bad. And also people are so busy doing other things like celebrating my birthday that maybe they don't watch the fights. I mean, I can't think of anything better to do than to watch the fights and what was I going to say? To watch the fights and celebrate my birthday at the same time. We can do two at the same time. But anyway, they've made sure this year that we're not going to forget about it. So that's really cool. That's a good fight. So now I guess the question is, who's going to win? That's a really hard one. That's one that we probably can't speculate on until we actually see these girls in the flesh. I know I said Rousey's looking swole. She's looking good. But just as I said, they take all these photos where, like, she looks fat. It's really easy to take a photo where she looks thin too. So if you take her on the side or kind of like this, or the light's really nice, maybe she looks. So I don't actually know how much she weighs. I'd say she's a bit over. But I don't think that's weird. I don't think that's a different thing for her as far as training. Yeah. So I think we'll just have to wait a little. My gut says Nunes. Definitely says Nunes. Just because Rousey's been off for 13 months, and the fact she got beaten by Holm, and I'm really tempted to jump in on that bandwagon of Rousey's not as good as we thought she was. And when she's not able to utilise her judo, she's got not much else, which is a really dangerous trap to get into. And I thought that in the McGregor-Diaz fights, but McGregor-Diaz 2 I thought was going to go the same way as McGregor-Diaz 1, because I had no faith in Conor's takedown defense or his ability on the ground, and he definitely proved us wrong. Well, proved me wrong. So I'm kind of like, and who knows what Rousey's been doing? Like, I know she hasn't been training hard out, but she's probably definitely been going in there. She's been rolling. She's been getting into it. So she's been out for 13 months. 13 months sounds like a long time, but if you ask Cain Velasquez, he only fights every 36 months. So that's really about a third of how long he fights. And that's on a good day. But yeah, it's good to see her back. I was of the belief we wouldn't see her come back. Again, coming back to the money issue, Reebok, all this kind of stuff, which is what we've been covering today. The money for her is just not in the UFC, especially with all of her movie deals. Everything. She's everywhere. She's got a book. Her audio book just got released. I think I got released today. I think I saw on Reddit it just got released today. I think she reads it too. That's a weird one. Yeah, that is a weird one. I don't know if she's just the best person to read her book though. Like, she didn't write that book. I've read it. She didn't write that. Somebody, a ghost, wrote it. But I didn't say that. Okay. So, now the UFC have an anchor on which to build 207 around. So that's because we've got 206, which is going to be Cormier Johnson. I think there's some other fights put on there. I think the Dirty Bird's fighting someone too. Tim Means is fighting someone of note. Well, that might be on the card that's before 205. So the card before 205 is Dos Anjos versus Ferguson. There's some good fights on that card. Ricardo Lamas is fighting on that card. That's a card that's definitely going to get forgotten. In the hype up to 205, especially with it being 1 week before 205, especially with it being the Ultimate Fighter Latin America final. Like, normally no one cares about the Ultimate Fighter Latin America. I said it. Because Dos Anjos is fighting, and it's his first fight after getting murked by Alvarez. And now Alvarez is he's gone on to that money fight with McGregor, and Dos Anjos is obviously feeling like he's just lost like $3 million, which I can't imagine is a good feeling. But maybe he's all like, "Oh, I don't care. It's just money." I would care, but that's okay. But there's no point. There's no point pretending that I wouldn't care. So that's coming up, but I think it's going to be forgotten in UFC 205. So before we finish up the old Yay Day MMA podcast stream, as always, we're going to have to talk about 205. Not a lot's come out about 205 this week. But we can talk about it now, because it is a sicko. I don't want to go into it too much. I'm going to wrap this up. We've been going for about an hour and a half. So an hour and a half is more than enough of you listening to just me talking to you, to my neighbours. I am talking to myself. So they'll probably appreciate me finishing too. But I just want to have a quick look. And what I always do when I'm thinking about UFC 205, I like to bring up the card. You know, guys know me. I'm lazy. Wikipedia is my go-to. I'm just bringing it up now. Oh, Wiki UFC 205. And I have a look at the card, and I just get blown away every fucking time. And it's not like I get any surprises anymore, but I just go, fuck, this is the best. And then also the potential for what happens after this card too just gets my dick really hard. Yeah. There's not a lot to really talk about. I mean, Tyron. I need to stop saying Tyrone. Tyrone is like eggs Tyrone. Like eggs with the cheese. Yep. That's being forgotten. Joanna Jędrzejczyk, they're going to be the third last fight of the card. That could definitely be a main event on any other card. We've got 6 fights on the main card of 205. Oh, big news. Nearly forgot this time. UFC 205 goes for 4 hours. 4 hours. Rather than 3. Interestingly, the UFC hasn't actually gone for 3 hours. I can't recall the last time I did. But I guess they want to be careful, because it is UFC 205, and if they fuck it up and it goes over, and we're halfway through Eddie Alvarez versus Conor McGregor, and the pay-per-view window shuts down, and the whole world will stop. There'll be like riots and shit. So you got to be careful about that kind of stuff, I suppose. But yeah, the best thing about UFC 205 as well, and I'm gonna finish on this because we've had enough, is the potential this card leads out. So, if you know what I mean, like it's there's so many fights to make after this card. So, Frankie Edgar versus Jeremy Stevens at featherweight. Well, if Jose Aldo has indeed left the UFC as he wants to, I mean, nothing's been sorted out yet, but if he's done, then essentially we need to have another bout for the interim featherweight championship. I'm a big Jose Aldo fan, but if we can finalize that, get rid of him. I know the UFC doesn't want him to leave, but if he wants to leave, he's gonna leave. So, fucking make that Frankie Edgar, Jeremy Stevens card for the interim belt, because both deserve it. That's sick. The featherweight division is just fucked at the moment. It's very unfortunate for the featherweight division that Conor McGregor is in the featherweight division. And that's where he holds the title. But it doesn't matter which division it is, because it would be unfortunate at any division. Like, if McGregor was, say, he was the champion at the bantamweight division, and Dominic Cruz really wanted to try and get his title back. And you just had Dominic Cruz versus TJ Dillashaw, and then TJ Dillashaw versus Cody Garbrandt, and all these guys just fighting over and over again, and they could never quite get that title fight. You can get the frustration that'd be there too. So it doesn't really matter what division it's at. Same with lightweight. Like, if he kept, say Conor was fighting more at welterweight, and you're at lightweight, there's all these fights that we just keep beating around the bush. So then you would have like Alvarez versus Dos Santos. This is a chance as well if McGregor wins at lightweight. But I think if McGregor wins at lightweight, McGregor will defend at lightweight, and he'll get rid of featherweight, hopefully. But no, that's it. But then you've got so many sick fights. And there's so many sick fights to come from the card, and all these really cool fights, they're all chunking along in cards together. If you don't understand what I mean by that, then that's cool, because that wasn't the best way to say it. What I mean is you're seeing the same fighters on the same card, like every 4... a lot of the time, so you're seeing them progressing through, which is really cool. I don't know if the UFC is doing that intentionally or not. I think that's really awesome. I think that's something they could definitely keep looking at trying to do. Because it allows this kind of speculation. So yeah, so we're looking at, so in lightweight, so whoever wins out of Eddie Alvarez and Conor McGregor, the winner of Khabib Nurmagomedov and Michael Johnson should get a shot, at least at the loser of that fight. At least. You got middleweight. There's so many middleweight fights on this card because middleweight is sick. And everyone wants Bisping, and Bisping is out for 6 months. So, what? 6 months from now? What are we in October? April. Yeah. April it's on. So, April, the middleweight championship will be contended again. So, I mean, the big fight on this is Weidman versus Romero. And then you've got Jacare Rockhold. That's like 2 weeks later. But then you've also got like Rashad Evans versus Tim Kennedy. Rafael Natal versus Tim Bosch. Tim Bosch, Rafael Natal, they're not really in it, but they're just kind of behind. Interestingly as well on this card, and this is the one weird fight on the card. And it's almost like they really wanted to put Miesha Tate on the card for the sake of putting Miesha Tate on the card, because especially when she was champion, everyone was like, I'm around Tate. Get around her. Like, let's get into it. Everyone came out as being a massive Miesha Tate fan. So they need to put it on the card. So there's a couple of things. So it's like that Kevin Gastelum versus Donald Cerrone fight. That actually is going to be a good fight, but it's kind of like we needed to get Cerrone on the card. Cerrone Lawler was going to be fucking dope. Haven't got that anymore. What else can we do? Miesha Tate's fighting Raquel Pennington. Does anyone think that Pennington can win? Like at all? Because I don't. But that's okay. But that'll kick off the card. And it's really weird because, like, normally the UFC don't do 6 fights on the main card. I know it's a longer card, but it's also got 3 championships, which is more of a reason why you would only run 5 fights on that main card. But it was like they really wanted Miesha Tate on that card, so that's why she's there. But regardless, very excited. Will that be the best fight of the night? Probably not. I mean, there's so much content. Whoever gets fight of the night honours on the UFC 205 card is going to have to pull something really fucking special out. Yeah, it's got to be something really incredible. Alright, my friends. I hereby call this YAY Day MMA podcast closed. So we're doing the once a week at the moment. Wednesdays at 12. I'm pretty keen to maybe do more. And maybe to do like hour ones or like little 40-minute ones. Something I'm going to play around with. Keep up. It's something I'm going to do. I'm still trying to get my podcast hosting sorted. As far as the audio, so I can get it into the iTunes store and stuff, so you guys can listen to it through your podcast app. So just bear with me on that one. But you can catch I'll always post on the Facebook, always post on Twitter, so you'll always know when I'm going to do one of these. And if you miss it because you're living your life, you can watch the replay. It's always on YouTube. You can always catch me on YouTube too. If you follow me on YouTube, follow, like, share. You'll get announcements when it's live too, which is really cool. That way you can keep him. All right. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, you can get at me on Twitter. So my Twitter is @Dave MMYAY. That's Dave MMYay. Help me get my followers up. Even if you don't like me and you want to just fucking shit on me, follow me so you can do it. Help me get those up. I'll be really appreciative. We've had a good show. Like Facebook. Facebook's sick. Facebook's not dead. Anyone who thinks Facebook's dead and Instagram is the future, fuck off. Facebook is where it's at. Facebook.com/MMYay online. Couldn't get MMYay. Some dickhead's got MMYay. Give it back, you fuck. You don't need it. Alright, MMYay.com's our home base. Yeah. Cool. So it was an awesome show. It's good to see GSP's going to come back, regardless of wherever he's going to be. Ronda Rousey's back too. It's a big week of returns, considering we've got no fights this weekend. I was going to look up if Bellator are fighting. Fuck, too late. Probably Bellator's on. If they're on, I'll write about it. You'll find that at MMYay.com. Alright, my friends. Thank you very much for tuning in. I always have a sick time when I'm hanging out with you. Hope you have a sick time too. Alright, regardless, I'll definitely be back next Wednesday, so if I don't do anything in between, I'll see you then. There'll be plenty of action on Twitter. Alright, my friends, thank you very much. I'll see you soon.